I love is the idea that um, people all over want to make sure that they are in a place where they don't have to worry about their finances. So today, I want to kind of talk to that a bit. And I do understand that in these trying times that it's kind of hard to get started with saving money, but it is so easy, believe me. And I'm going to walk you through some of the steps on what you need to do. So Tony Robbins says that financial freedom is working because you want to and not because you have to. And what that just kind of sums up is becoming financially free takes time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it is so possible. Being financially independent is something that we all want, but we have to have a plan and we have to have a roadmap to get us started so that we know exactly where we're headed to. So I would ask you a question. What does financial freedom look like to you? And it's different for everybody. It is just not the same. It could be you want to make sure that you come out of whatever debt that you're in. You may want to leave a legacy for your children. It could be that you want to go into a new career and not have to worry about where the money is going to come from as you do the transition. There's so many reasons why financially freedom could look so great to you. And I want it to look great to you too. That's why I'm here to kind of help walk you through some of the easy steps in the process to make it happen. It's not as hard as we seem to think it is. So to build up a net worth, to last a lifetime, to cover expenses, to have a better lifestyle, that is one of the things that we all want to do in our lives. We want to make sure that we've got enough money set aside to do some of the things that we desire to do in life. We don't want to always have to rob Peter to pay Paul. So there's always a why. What is your why? If you have a substantial why as to why you want financial freedom, it's a very good reason for you to start. A lot of times we want it, but we never get started with it because we haven't figured out what our why is. We don't want to be vague about it. We want to actually have a very good why. I want to make sure that my children, when I leave this earth, are well taken care of. They have some of the things that they need. They don't have to struggle. We want to make it very creative as well. I want a different type of lifestyle than I'm already living. You know, I want to make sure that I can buy whatever clothes I want to buy whenever I get ready to buy them. There's so many reasons why you could possibly want financial freedom. Let me tell you something. The only thing that you need today is a pad, a pencil, a calculator, and you. And I'll tell you about that just a little bit later. So, financial freedom has to have a plan. You have to have a goal, and you have to have an outline for each step you're going to take. And the reason why I say that, if you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going, how are you going to know when you get there? Having a financial life is waking up early in the morning, having the opportunity not to have to work very hard, but being able to set a pace that's pleasing to you and also to the people around you. I know that the idea of, for I guess maybe for about 15 years, I was on a 9 to 5. I was on there longer than that, but the timing, I had to get up every morning at 3:30 in the morning to get ready for work. You know, I could have done without that. Okay. I didn't like it at all, but that was a part of the job. Okay. So just the idea of having a job that I love, getting up at a reasonable hour, to me, that was financial freedom. So finding a way to spend less today in order to have more tomorrow. I want to share a story with you too. I remember when I was like $75,000 in debt. Now, it wasn't just credit card debt, it was mortgages, it was my car that I had, it was a loan that I had out. And I'm telling you, I was really, really stressed out from day to day as to how to get that debt paid down. I wanted to make sure that when came time for me to retire, that I didn't have that debt. So one of the things that I did, I had a few years before I had to retire. So what I did was I opened up an account with a credit union. Now I already had bank accounts, but I opened up an account at the credit union. It only cost me $5. I put money in there until I built up about $500. After I got $500 in, I went back to the bank and I borrowed on that $500. When they gave me the check for the $500, I just opened up a new account and I put it in. I didn't spend it, okay? So by the time I paid back the other $500 I had borrowed from the bank, guess what? I had $1,000. I went back, I borrowed another $1,000 on what I already had there. They gave me the check. Guess what? I took it, I put it in an account. I did that on and on and on until I began to build up a substantial amount of money. I'll tell you what I did with that just a little later. But we have to figure out how can we just cut back on the amount of money we spend each and every day. So if there's something that you can just pull out of the list that you have of the things that you're spending money on, then cut back on it. Guess what? If you need something sweet to eat, why go buy the whole cake when a cupcake will do? That's cutting back, okay? And that's what I mean. So, what about our children? Some of us still have adult children at home. Some of us are giving our adult children allowances. Now, I'm not telling you don't give your kids money, because let me tell you something. They are in our pockets way after they get grown, and even after they get their own families, they are still in our pockets. And I know that there are certain circumstances that our children are going through that we have to uh, give them a little income. But what about also some of the habits that we have where we're buying 3 and 4 cups of coffee a day, where we could literally just buy a hot cup somewhere at some store, make our own coffee and take our coffee back and forth with us, okay? Same thing with lunch. How about lunch? Why do we always, and I heard my girlfriend say this, I bought some lunch the other day from Grubhub, or they delivered it or something, and I spent $25. To me, that is a waste of money. She would have saved more money by just getting up, going to the restaurant, getting the food that she needs, and coming back to work, or even fixing lunch at night and taking it to work with us, okay? Saving money, we can do that. And for our children, the ones that we're giving money to, so if it's not a necessity, then we need to rethink what we're doing. Now, here's what I would say to you, and this is not about your children, but the habit of spending and saving money. If you take whatever savings that you have that you want to put aside. I don't care if it's $25 or what have you. Put it aside until you begin to build up a substantial amount. And let's say you've got about $500, okay? You could literally put that money into an IRA account, and guess what? Over the course of 10, maybe 5, 10, 15 years, that money becomes so much for you that it's part of your retirement. And that's something that we all need to make sure that when emergencies come up, we've got additional money to do it. How do we do it? By scaling back on some of the things that we already spend money on. It is so easy. Now, what about the bills that we have paid off? A lot of us, we have car notes. We pay off the car note. And after we pay off the car note, what do? We just incorporate that into our everyday spending. We never thought, or maybe we have thought, but just haven't done it, to take that same amount of money that we just paid the car note off with, or the loan, or whatever it is, and take that money and pay off another debt, pay off a credit card, okay? Or take that money and start a bank account with it. Why incorporate that money that you've already freed up and just begin to spend it needlessly? And that's some of what we do sometimes. We need to make sure that our finances are in order. And doing that means that we have to become accountable for the money that comes in. We have to be accountable for the money that goes out. And I can tell you now that if I were to ask you now, how many of you have sit down and made a list of every bill that you have also added to that list every dollar that you spend every day, regardless of what it is, but all of the money that you spend? Then take that same list and cut it up into categories. This is for the house. This is for the job. This is for the kids. This is for my husband. This is for my daily spending habits. And then look at that list and begin to figure out, what can I take off of this list and begin to have a separate account. I'm going to tell you, regardless of whether you have a bank account already, you should also have a savings account that you don't dip into, that just grows and grows, and it becomes emergency money. And that's what you need to do when you pay off bills. Don't just let it just begin to get reincorporated into just another spending habit where we just go and buy clothes, or we go out to dinner every week. No, let's not do that. Let's put that money aside. If you want financial freedom, you have to make the decision, the hard decision, that I'm going to do something today. So, attacking the mortgage, the car note, the cell phone bill, the cable bill. So let's start with the mortgage. You could actually add 3 more payments per year onto your mortgage and easily pay your mortgage off and cut down at least 5 years off of your mortgage. How do you do that? Pay the principal only. That's what we're talking about. Let's say, for instance, if the mortgage is $800, and the principal is only $300, then set it up to pay that principal at least 3 times a year. The same thing with cell phones and cables. Look, forget about all of these contracts. Kick those contracts to the curb. The reason why you want to do that is if something else comes up better, a cell phone company has a better deal, you want to be able to move over to that better deal. And as far as cable is concerned, there are so many ways to watch TV without paying a $200 and a $300 a month cable bill. You got Prime America, you got Netflix. Those are like, what, $10 a month? And you can buy the antenna, I think, for $20, where you can watch your daily programs every day. So you can cut that $200 or $100, $99 that you're spending on cable. Let's try saving that up for a year. And I guarantee you, you will not go back to cable, okay? So we want to have that talk, that special talk with our parents. For those of us that our parents are still alive, like my dad, he says all the time, I'm not going into a nursing home. You're not going to put me in a nursing home. I'm just not going to go. I'd rather die rather than go into a nursing home. There's a talk that we have to have with them, because that means that if we're going to take our parents into our own homes, we have to have a way to support them while they're there. We have to have a way of taking care of them so that we're able to get out and enjoy our lives. And doing that means we need to find out where their financial stability is. Most of us, we never think to have that talk with our parents. But if your parents are like my dad and they want to come home with you if something happens, then you've got to take time and have that talk, because the money has to come from somewhere to take care of them. That additional mouth that you need to feed, that additional dollar that you have to pay when you're taking them back and forth to the doctor, the prescriptions that they have to have, and the money has to come from somewhere. So don't delay having that talk with your parents. Now, one of the things that I hear all the time from my kids, everybody's gone. It's just me and my husband. And I was talking to them about moving to a smaller home where it doesn't cost us as much. And the first thing I could hear from them is, Mom, are you kidding? You're going to sell the house? That's where we grew up at, you know? Well, you know what? Here was my answer to them. All you got to do at the time that I get ready to sell it is to buy it from me, just like any other person. And guess what? We can keep the house in the family. Otherwise, the house has to go. So we know that we have shared memories with our families in the home that we have. And we also know that they have objections to us selling our houses. But this is about you. It's not about them. Most of our children have their own lives, have their own families. They've moved off somewhere else. This is not about them. It's about you. It's about you having finances to do some of the things that you want to do. And in order to do that, you've got to have money. How are you going to have money? You have to figure out a way to either downsize the house, sell, or even rent it out. Even if you want to rent it out, if you think you've got the mindset to be a landlord, then you can rent it out and you can still utilize the money. So you have to know how to protect what you have by knowing what you have. You have to keep good records about the funds that you have coming in and the funds that you have going out. And one of the things that I did was I bought a book online, and that book is called Life and Care Directory. And everything about me is in that book. I've put in there all of my bank accounts, my passwords for those bank accounts. And as I change them, I cross off the old ones, put the new ones in. Not only that, my insurances, every dollar that I have invested somewhere is in that book, okay? Now, I have a home that if I don't move, I want to make sure that my children know exactly what I want to happen to it. It's in that book, okay? So I said I was going to tell you about the money that I was putting into an account. Sometimes we have opportunities right in front of us. because we're so caught up with the idea of living from paycheck to paycheck or robbing Peter to pay Paul, sometimes we miss that. I remember I worked at a paint shop for 33 years, at a paint store for 33 years, and I work with contractors. So I remember these contractors coming in and talking. I could hear the conversations about how they were investing or what have you. One of those guys asked me if I would be interested in getting in with them. I was so afraid of what could happen that I said no. It took me years to decide to do something different. But guess what? I got tired of being broke. I got tired of not having. So I looked those guys up. Now, in Chicago here on the east side, they were just beginning to rebuild and restore that area. They call that High Park now. That's where Barack Obama bought his home at. And that's where these guys were at. It was 6 guys that were in a group together. They were buying homes, they were rehabbing and what have you. So everything I needed was right in that group: how to buy, how to rehab, how to find the people I needed, how to go about making money without losing money. But I was so afraid of just getting involved that I did nothing. So finally, here's what was going on. I was driving back and forth to work, and I would pass by this 6 unit and it was up for sale. I called and they wanted like $250,000. I didn't have that kind of money. Neither did I want to get in that kind of debt. But 6 months later, after these guys, I talked to these guys, I made the call again about that apartment building. The guy said, make me a deal. And I was like, make a deal? And he was like, yeah, they just want whatever uh, you offer, and we're going to take it back and make sure they want it or they don't want it. So guess what? By this time, I had saved up about $35,000 in the bank. I offered him 30,000, and he was like, when do you want to sign the papers? Now, here's the thing. Had I known they would have took 30, I would have offered them 20. But anyway, I got a chance to go back and talk to these guys. They walked me through the entire process. I bought an apartment, 6 flat, for $30,000. I had $5,000 to go through it. Let me tell you, when you decide that you want to get out of debt, you start doing some things and you start planning, I can guarantee you that everything that you need will begin to show up for you. These guys, they gave me the lawyers to talk to close the deal. They gave me the bank to go to in order to get finance. I had the money to pay for it, but because I had a connection, I was able to go to the bank that they sent me to, drop a name, and I took $50,000, that's all. But here's the thing, I never got a chance to spend that money. And a year later, I sold that building for $143,000. I will never forget it. So deals are there, but we have to make the decision that we're gonna do something in order to get what we want. So here's a small checklist, okay, that I created. And at the end of the presentation, this checklist can be yours as well. And it just talks about, it's just a yes or a no, okay? Are you spending too much money on your children? Are you making enough money to save? That may be a yes, it may be a no. Are you investing enough on the job? And the reason why I ask that, most of us that still have a job, our jobs have uh, pension funds, they have, let's say, stock purchase plans, that we can actually invest in. That's one of the things that I did. I worked for a company called Sherwin-Williams Paint Company. I invested in their plan. And over the years, I saw that it was growing, and I knew that when time came for me to retire, I would be okay. And that's what we all want. That's the reason, one of the reasons why we want to get out of debt. We want to make sure that we're not living from paycheck to paycheck. There's so many things that you can do to make sure that that doesn't happen. Now, coming to the end of my presentation, what I have for you is I have a checklist and I have a guidebook waiting for you. And all you have to do is go to Smart Money Talks. And if you put that into your browser, it will take you straight to a page where you're able to download the checklist and the guidebook. At the end of the presentation, you'll find out also that if you go over to my site, my Facebook group site, that it's also there if you don't get a chance to write it down. So one of the things I'll be doing with you is I will end up sharing with you monthly tips about paying off debt, monthly quotes from high effective people. Some of the people that I learn a lot of the money skills that I have is, and I know most of you know Tony Robbins here. Tony Robbins talks about money all the time. Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey has so much information about thinking like a millionaire and putting your financial section in order. And then Susie Orman. I love Susie Orman. I've been following her since she first started taking tips. I have so many books and so many CDs because I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to go out after I retired and look for another job. I didn't want my lifestyle to change. I wanted it to grow. I wanted to, you hear a lot of people say, oh, when I retire, I'm going to travel, I'm going to do new things, I'm going to start a new business. And when they retire, they don't do anything. And then at some point in time, they have to go out and get another job because they really haven't planned. So I'm telling you, you can plan. Smart money talks, okay? And that's what you want. You want to make sure that you create whatever it is that you need in your financial life in order to have a successful financial life where you can do some of the things that you want to do, whether it's traveling, whether it's buying a new car. One of the things that I wanted to do was I used to have to spend 10, 100, 200, $300 getting my car fixed. And when I know anything, I've got thousands of dollars that I put in there in repair. Well, one of the things that I did was I wanted to make sure that I never had to do that. I wanted to have a lifestyle where every 7 years I could buy a new car. And that even comes down to maybe buying a substantially good used car, buying a brand new car, or even going to the car lot and leasing a car. So do your due diligence. There's so much information that you can get by going online, looking at different areas to help you enhance your financial life. And also, I'm going to be giving out 30-minute strategy calls. No selling, just sharing. If you're interested in talking to me and letting me help you put an action plan together for your finances, I would be very gracious to do just that. I want to thank you for taking the time out to listen to my presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing at this time and turn it back over to Mickey. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Dorothy, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. And I actually saw one of the questions for you in the chat that I noticed was from Amber. And she was wondering what you would advise for people in their early 30s with young kids looking to save more money. Got any top of the head advice for her?
Yeah, I do. Actually, one of the things that I did was I went and I opened up a savings account for each one of my children when they were small. Okay. At that time, it only took $5 to open, but I think now you can open up a savings account for $25. And then I just started putting money in it a little at a time, whatever I could. Another thing that I did was, and I think I told you this, I brought up one of those big water jugs from work, and I sit it in the closet. And every time I would come home with loose change, I would drop loose change in there. And what we would do is, come Christmas time, we would use that money to buy Christmas gifts or what have you. So that's something else that you can do. You know, it doesn't have to be for Christmas. And what I found out is, I think one year, my son took his jar to the bank. He had like about $700. I had $300, but I didn't have to spend it all on Christmas presents. I'm going to show you what I did. We all wrote down things that we know we need to buy for ourselves, but we haven't bought them, okay? Like that raggedy t-shirt that we wear, those run over house shoes, you know, things that, and we wrote them down. Nothing cost over $25, okay? And we each pulled a name. So it wasn't like I was buying gifts for all three of my sons. I only needed to buy a gift for one of my sons. And we put like 3 things on that list. Now it was up to you if you bought all 3, but you only had to buy one. $25. I mean, for a Christmas present. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a great savings.
It is, and it takes the pressure off overspending. And I think that it kind of helps us drill down to what's mostly important, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, Dorothy, it has been such a joy to have you here today, sharing so many great tips. I know I've had the pleasure of listening to you speak before and hearing all your great tips, and, or I should say probably just the tip of the iceberg of your great tips. And they're just always just wonderful. So I'm so glad that so many people today have been able to enjoy that as well. Thank you. And by the way, everybody, I should tell you that, you know, we had Megan in Hawaii earlier, and Dorothy, we skipped clear over to Chicago for her. So we are all over the world today.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, Dorothy, let's go ahead and put up your challenge post here. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. And can you go ahead and share that really quick?
Absolutely. I'd like for everybody to just go over to the Facebook page, Let's Talk Shop. And what I need you to do is, in the comments section, I want you to share, what does financial freedom look like to you? Now, after you share that, I would love for you to comment on 3 other posts, okay? Tell someone just how great their idea is, and then you'll be surprised. Just sharing and commenting, you may find something that you can use as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Dorothy. Appreciate you being here today. Okay, let me double check something. I'm getting a little flash here. Somebody's flashing me. Here we go. Let's see here. One last question before you go, if you don't mind. The question is, how about if you have to choose between savings and starting a business? Starting a biz takes some cash as well. That's from Pat.
It does. I would say that if in starting a business, you gotta make sure